Hello everyone, artist Charles Wolf here, back again for another painting lesson. This is part 2 of my instructional tutorial on how to create this wonderful view from the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We've finished the sky and the ocean and the beach in part 1. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check that out before finishing this video. And today we're going to finish up this painting. This is going to be a little bit longer of a lesson video than normal. I try to keep them to about 20 minutes. It's about twice that. Didn't feel like making this a part 2 and a part 3. Didn't have a good natural break point in this part of the painting, so I'm going to press on and just do the whole thing for you right now. So today we're going to fill in the rest of the island that is visible from the top of the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. It was quite the windy day when I took the photograph that is the basis of this painting. The clouds were just so very beautiful, and we need to start by the very, very tip of this island over here. There are a grove of trees. You start to put those in, right standing on top of this hill that blocks the view to the end of the island. Put another line of them down below. We're using a nice green mix today, which is a mixture of ultramarine blue, raw umber, liquid white, and a touch of the lemon yellow. I'm adding some white and some blue in between these, as you can see part of the Buxton Woods. The Buxton Woods are a rather unique part of the Carolina landscape. It is the largest maritime forest in the Carolinas. It is actually a forest, and there is 1,000 acres of these woods that are intermingled with freshwater marshes called sedges. It is a very beautiful part of the island to hike. I have done so. It's quite gorgeous. There's a tangle of branches and vines. And there are large tracts of these ponds, these sedges, these marshes, and lots of birds and wildlife there. It's a nice nature preserve to visit. If you're ever in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, I recommend taking a hike in the woods. Quite lovely. Here we're going to get some light blue mix, ultramarine blue, some liquid white, touch of the titanium white as well. Just going to soften the top of this, get it to blend with the sky a bit more. I'm going to use my finger here and blend that together. A little bit more of the light blue mix here, so you can actually see the marshes down below, and so we're going to paint those in today. And then of course we also have the woods. There'll be a lot of green happening as I fill in this island. I'm using a rather small brush, and in fact, except for this farther distant part, I think I could have used a bigger brush and it would have worked out just fine. You could have used a 1/2-inch chip brush or a stencil brush, and that would be good too. I think it would have gone faster. I was thinking I was going to put a lot of detail in this foreground island, lots of little strokes with contrasting colors, but in the end I went with a more blended look, more impressionistic. And to save myself the trouble, I could have started with a larger brush and got the same effect. When I recreated this piece for a client and did a larger 2 by 3 foot version of it, I did indeed put some more detail in using an angle brush, and it turned out quite nice. Back to my green mix here, a little bit more of the blue added. And you can see that each of these lines of trees, as they get closer to me, are going to get much larger. And that's a property of the perspective. Things that are farther away from you are going to get smaller, and as things get closer to you, they're going to become much larger in appearance. It's going to reinforce our single point perspective we have going on with the beach and the water. Here is some lemon yellow. And because I have this dark green mixed together, I'm just going to mark in where the dark green needs to go. Big bunch of these trees. I do end up moving these down a little bit lower. It's a little bit too big and a little too high. So we're going to make some adjustments to that. I'm using a tiny bright brush today. You could use an angle brush or a round brush, and that would work just fine. But today I have this bright brush, and I'm going to keep using it. It's a very cheap synthetic brush I'm using. And because I'm not worrying about being overly detailed, it gets the job done just fine. Back to my green mix. As you will see, there's actually a lot happening on the island part itself. There is the marshes, trees, there are some open spots where you can see lots of grasses, and then there's a transition on the left-hand side by the beach into some hills, exposed earth. Beautiful transition from greens into some earth tone browns, and then the sand dunes start, and then the ocean. Here's some lighter green with some liquid white and some lemon yellow. Back to my darker green mix, and I'm just quickly tossing this in. I've marked most of my composition out in pencil. As always, don't forget to paint the edges of your canvas. I'm working on some 1-inch gallery style sides, nice deep canvas for this piece. I'm going to be part of an art gala at the end of the month, and I think I'll show this piece off, and if someone likes it, maybe they'll buy it. Start to blend this together a bit more. Bringing in more of the lemon yellow. It's important just to block in your basic shapes, and then you can make adjustments from that. Once I have most of the island blocked in, then I can move things around a little bit, make some adjustments. Oil paint is pretty forgiving, very easy to cover up and move things around as needed. Just remember that a thin paint will stick to a thicker paint. Adding more of my medium or some linseed oil can thin out the paint and allow it to cover up the darker sections beneath. more of the green mix. If you're not following me on Instagram, you really should. Check it out. I have photography, original paintings, all kinds of stuff on there, so check that out. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Facebook. On Facebook, it's Impulsive Artistry. On Twitter, it's @ArtImpulsive. And on Instagram, it's also Impulsive Artistry. To all my subscribers, make sure that you have notifications turned on. Hit the bell icon, and that way, every time I upload a new video, you'll get notified and it'll appear in your feed. Bringing this minty green down here on the shoreline. We're going to cover up some of this with some brown. Let's make that brown right now. Here's some Van Dyke brown and some liquid white. Get a nice light brown color and start to play the brown into the green. There's a good bit of brown in this composition, so we need that to come through. And I'm just tossing this here and there because there's lots of tufts of grass and dunes popping up in the middle of this marsh. A bit more intense over on the top right, thins out and becomes more green at the bottom. Back to my green mix. And here we're just going to start to blend this gently together. Taking my green mix here and bringing in some more variation in this foreground. A little more of the white mix, liquid white, medium, and titanium white. Mostly scrubbing left to right using quick horizontal motions, and back to my lemon yellow and green mix with a touch of the liquid white. Get that nice soft light green happening right here in the foreground, right by this clump of trees. I'm leaving lots of the broken white showing, and that's because that's where a lot of the marsh is happening, and so we need to keep that available for the light blue, which we'll bring in a minute. I'm mostly following the pencil marks that I have drawn in before I started the painting. One nice thing about using a smaller brush is I'm getting a good amount of variation in the colors. We're going to go and mix together the raw sienna and the Van Dyke brown to get a warmer, darker brown color, and start to bring this in the foreground especially. Right along the divide between the beach and the beginning of the marsh, there are these bluffs, and we need to mark those in. And now a mixture of the raw sienna and the titanium white. Bit of the liquid white as well. There's some of that brown. You can see the transition between the green to the brown is happening. Lots of little islands and popping up in these marshes. Following my line here. Gonna add a touch of lemon yellow to my mixture of raw sienna and liquid white. Still using that tiny bright brush. Quick horizontal motions to blend this together smoothly. Some more of the darker brown. Really go darker here. As things get closer to us, they're going to be appearing darker, so we want to make sure that we reflect that with our color choices. There's a nice shift in tonal value from light to dark. Another thing that you should keep in mind when you're doing very long perspective pieces like this, where we have a great deal of depth, is that as things get closer to the horizon line, they're going to have more of a bluish cast, and then they're going to warm up as they get closer to us. Definitely get darker at least. I really like this piece. Has a soft sort of pastel aesthetic. Definitely a cool piece. Lots of blue in all of my colors except for the brown. Beautiful, subdued scene. Really liking the way it turned out. Starting to put in the sedges, the marshes, the freshwater marshes that are intermingled with the woods here on Cape Hatteras Island. And we're doing a mixture of some ultramarine blue, liquid white, and maybe a touch of the raw umber as we go along. Using a stencil brush, nice round edge on that brush, great for blending, puts in the color well, great size as well. You can really fuss with making this look perfect. Remember, we're just trying to get the impression of the image. It doesn't need to be completely detailed. A lot of it can be left to the viewer's eye to blend together and to make it look correct. Just put the colors in, get your values right, and the viewer will do the rest. You don't need to be putting in every little tree branch and stick and stone and trying to get too caught up in all these details. Most of it's kind of hazy anyways from the distance and the mist from the ocean. Don't do too much to make this look correct. As we get closer to us, we're going to add more of the white because more of the clouds are being reflected, and we can see that shift from blue to more of a silver, to almost a pure white. See how easy it is to put in these marshes? Just put in the blue reflected from the sky above. We're going to add more of the umber, which warms it up, and then a little bit more of the white. Let's mix together the lemon yellow and the green mix with a bit of the white. Just need to bring a little more green in here to the distance. Continuing to blend this together, bring in a touch more of that green. Using that very small bright brush. I'm striving to make this transition as smooth as possible. Also be careful not to cover up all of the blue for our marshes. Here's some liquid white, raw umber, and ultramarine blue mixed together. Nice light blue sky mixture. And we're going to lay this in over here where the water is closer to us. It's much lighter on this side, and we can see more of this larger marsh here. And the water is clearly reflecting much more of the sky above. Touch of the raw umber added to that. Add some warmth and earthiness to it. Just blending this smoothly together. Using a stencil brush, nice round edge on that brush, rounded bristles. It blends very, very effectively. Great little tool to use when you're painting. Back to my tiny bright brush, here's the green mix and the lemon yellow. Lighten up the foreground a bit. Quick horizontal brushwork. Let's get a little bit of the raw umber, raw sienna, and the white. Blend that out over there, lighten up the brown. Touch of the Van Dyke brown, really darken this up again. If it goes too far one way, I can easily just grab a little more of some pure pigmented color and darken it again. Bringing that brown down and around. And we'll blend this up here a little better. You can see there are some earth tone bluffs on the left hand side, a barrier between the grasses and the marshes and the beach. Touch of the liquid white. And while I have a dirty brush, let's add in a few more islands. Back to my light blue mix. More umber added this time. A little more of the liquid white down here at the bottom. It's almost pure white, quickly becoming dirty as I blend into the brown. Just going to soften this with my finger up here in the top right. That's better. A little more titanium white. Back to my green mix with the ultramarine blue, a little darker. Let's grab a 1/2-inch chip brush, fill in this bottom section here. That chip brush covers more of the space very nicely. And don't forget about the edges of your canvas. Tiny bright brush now, lemon yellow, green mix. Bring in a few more highlights to these front trees. As I mentioned earlier, this is too dark and they're a little bit too high. We're going to soften this front grove of trees and push it down lower. Help it blend into the rest of the background. It's standing too proud, it's too forward. More of the dark green mix. Brown mix with raw sienna and white with a liner brush. A little more brown at the top over here in this corner, trying to make it match the photograph a little more. Break up this blue a little better. Back to my lemon yellow, green mix, and white. Tiny bright brush. And we're going to start to push this hill lower. Just lighten this whole area up. Much too high, needs more of the green grass behind it showing through. Titanium white with my dirty brush. Great way to quickly cover up a large section. Touch of the brown in a moment. Lemon yellow and green mix again, blending, softening. Lemon yellow, ultramarine blue, and raw sienna. Quick horizontal brushwork. More of the raw sienna, Touch of the Van Dyke brown. Here's some more of the light white. Back to my green mix, dirty brush. Lots of yellow there. And we will blend these two together. Touch more of the liquid white into my lighter green mix. Bring more of this green up here on the left into the brown. Clean the brush off, reapply more green. By layering the green over the brown, we keep the earthy tone of the brown, but we meld the right-hand side of the painting more seamlessly into the left-hand side. We want to slowly muddle from one to the next. Back to my sienna, but with a dirty brush. Continuing to use horizontal brushwork, back to my lemon yellow and green mix. Softening this hill line, making it lay and blend with the rest of the composition. As it contrasts quite so much, and therefore it sits into the painting. Before, it was sort of like you were behind this row of bushes and then there was the rest of the painting. So lightening it up, more seamlessly transition, is how you do that. Good deal of blending. Touch more of the liquid white here. Lighten this up. Quick way to cover up a lot of the paint. Again, bringing the green over on top of the brown. Because the green is a thinner mixture of paint, it will stick on top of the brown without over blending into it. A little blending is fine though. Touch more of the light brown mix. And back to that spring green color, lemon yellow and green mix. Okay, some raw umber and light blue mixed together here. Good amount of the umber, touch of the Van Dyke brown, lots of white, lots of blue. An earthy blue tone, sort of a gray. Taking this darker mix with my stencil brush, I'm going to strongly assert the sky color and bring out the blue a bit more. Some more of the light blue mix. Dirty brush. Blue in a few spots on the right. Blend together to transition smoothly. And taking this lighter blue, I'm going to connect from the background to the foreground, bring it all together a bit better. Lemon yellow, green mix. Needs to be a little more green back here, got a little too brown. I am really excited how well this painting turned out. I think it looks very nice. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Touch more of the raw sienna and the white. Now the raw umber and the light blue mix. Just want to adjust one of these waves here. That's better. Here's some more of the light blue mix, blending through here. And bringing back a touch of the white and then back to my darker mix, using just the corner of that round brush. Grabbing my liner brush, clean, take some of the liquid white and the titanium white, and we'll put in back some of these waves more clearly. Really concentrating here, make sure it's straight. Thanks for watching, and here's the final piece.